I see this fellow at shows all the time. Perry and his wife produce beautiful Gulf Coast children's books.
Yeah, so I write the books that we have, and my wife does the illustrations in the books. And what we do is animated poetry in short story fashion. And we have 6 books. Our first one is Treasures in the Sand, which is 10 different short story beach poems about the Gulf Coast. Then the second book is A Gulf Coast Christmas. I love Christmas, so it's just a really sweet story with our animal characters that we have down here. And then the third book was the Mardi Gras Boat Parade. That's Tammy's favorite. She did a little Beatrice Potter style with their animated characters in that book. And then the fifth one was a Gulf Coast Seafood Festival. That one's really fun because it's got the seafood recipes in the back of the book. And then our 6th book will be out in about 2 or 3 months, called The Farmer's Market. And it's going to be a bit more educational, but still a real fun book, all in all. And I call my books family books. I don't write down to let's say, a first, second, or third graders level. I'm writing with some a bit larger words sometimes, but in order for them to read up to that. And my writing is poetry, so sometimes it's a little difficult to understand that what I do is not specific children's books or children's poetry. I write what I consider family poetry, so everyone can share the poetry together.
When did you start writing?
Oh goodness, I've written many songs. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I started that at an early age. I guess I was probably 13 to 14, and then I started collecting a lot of poetry writings. So I started early on.
How long have you been doing these collaborations with your wife's artwork?
Yeah, so we got married about 8 years ago, so that's when we started our team. And we call ourselves the Painter and Poet, and I think we make a very good team.
Where do you market your books?
Well, I've been up and down the coast from New Orleans to deep in Florida at different stores. I'm not wholesaling as much as I used to. So now we do sell most of our books online, thepainterandpoet.com. But there are quite a few different retail outlets throughout the South on the coast that have my books. Yes, Walter Anderson Museum, they do really well for us over there. Miner's Toy Store over here does fantastic. Marilee, she's just a wonderful spirit, so I love her.
How many art shows do you do a year?
I'm starting to set up at Pass Christian most every Saturday. It's very convenient for me because it's 15 minutes away from my home. And so I'm going to try to be there most Saturdays, and I'll occasionally do a festival, probably half a dozen larger festivals throughout the year.
Did you study poetry?
I did a minor in English in college, but really just from reading some of my favorite, Emily Dickinson, I love her, and I could just go on with all the different poets, but I've always loved poetry, loved the rhythm and the rhyme of it, singing, songwriting, all that kind of stuff.
I see that all your books have a Mississippi Gulf Coast theme.
Yeah, well, it's when I started, I've been living on the Gulf Coast all my life, and I love the coast so much. I had a kayak and paddleboard business over in Gulf Shores and Orange Beach, and so my feet's always been in the sand and in the water, and we're associated with Audubon with one of the books, and also some signage going up over in Orange Beach, Alabama currently. So yeah, I love the Gulf Coast. Live here and don't want to go anywhere else. And my next book is called The Farmer's Market, so it's a little bit different than being on the Gulf Coast. So that'll kind of vary us a little bit.
We'd love to hear your poetry. Pick out one of your favorite poems from one of your books.
Well, I'm going to go to The Fine Feathered Friends, because this is a book we were commissioned by Audubon, my wife to do 12 paintings, me to do the 12 poetry writings. And what I'm trying to do is to endear the reader to the bird, and I'm hoping that the young reader will perhaps memorize the poem, and then they'll know more about our birds here on the Gulf Coast. So I'm going to pick out one of my favorite birds here. Let me just skim through.
You ready to read?
Yep. So this is one of my favorite birds and favorite poems here. This is the great, well, let me just read it to you. The great blue adorned in pageantry plumage, watching over the brackish shore, every feather in place, statuesque with grace, endearing all the more. You walk the ocean's edge, volunteer sentinel of the sea, surveying the ocean's depths, orange sunsets, and all that is meant to be. And that is the great blue heron. I love the great blue. So we're doing foraging at our house next month. There's a gentleman, and I can't recall his name right now, but he's one of the top foragers in Mississippi. And so they're going to be putting on a little class for some folks that are coming over there. We're going to forage out in the fields and find the different things that are edibles that we can eat, mushrooms and lettuces and things like that.
How many acres do you have?
Just a couple of acres, but it's full of just fresh, wild things, so it's going to be really cool.
This is Dr. Philip Levin. Thank you for watching. Please like my videos and subscribe.